Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. Now we will start revising chapter 8 using our revision sheet. So please open your booklet to page 23 and let us begin. Okay, the first question says, which number is prime? So let's remember, what are the prime numbers? The prime numbers are the numbers that you can get them only from multiplying the number itself by 1. So for example, I know that the number 5 is a prime number. How can we make the number 5? We can only make it if you multiply 5 by 1. So 5 times 1 equals 5, right? Is there any another way that you can make the number 5 with it? No, this is the only way. How about the number 12, for example? Okay, how can you make the number 12? You can make it from multiplying 1 times 12 equals 12. You can also make it from multiplying 2 times 6, that also equals to 12. You can also make it from 3 times 4, that is also equals to 12. So, what do we say about the number 12? We say that the number 12 is a composite number. And it is not a prime number. It is a composite number because we can make it from many different ways. But the number 5, the number 5, we can call it a prime number because we can only make it from multiplying the number itself by 1. Okay? So this question 1 says, which one of these numbers is a prime number? So you will think of each one of these options. The number 16, how can you make it? You can make it from 1 times 16 and also 4 times 4, right? And also 1 times 16. So no, not a prime. 12, we just saw that we can make it from 3 different ways. So no, this is also not prime, this is composite. What about the number 6? You can make it from 1 times 6, that is equal to 6. Also, you can make it from 2 times 3, right? So also 6 is not a prime number. So the prime number must be 3, and that is correct because you can only make the 3 from multiplying 1 times 3. So D is the correct answer and the prime number is 3. Okay, question 2 says, which number is composite? Now he's asking us about the inverse, the reverse thing, okay? So this is like the other case. Which number is composite? Like which number that is not prime, the number that you can make it from different ways, okay? Let's see the 29. How can you make it 29? You can only make it from multiplying 1 times 29. Okay, so 29 is a prime number. What about the number 15? You can make it from 1 times 15. Also, you can make it from 3 times 5. This is times table of 3. So this number, which is 15, you can make it from different ways. So what do we call that? We call that a composite number. And this is what he is asking us. So G is the correct answer. Let's just check the other answers. You have the 5. 5 is of course a prime number because you can only make it from 1 times 5. As well as the 3, you can only make it from 1 times 3. So both of them are prime numbers. Okay, so the only composite number is the 15, which is answer G. Okay, question 3, which number is a multiple of 5? Multiple means that we took the 5, we multiplied by something. Okay, so we can take the 5 and multiply it by anything, and the answer, we call these multiples of 5. So you will take a look at the options that you have here and think which one of them is a number that you can find it in the times table of the number 5. Let's try 74. Is that a multiple of 5? Can you make it from multiplying 5 by something? No, of course not. What about 58? No, because you have 8 and you cannot make the 8 from the 5, so also no. What about 50? Well, 50 looks promising because you can make the 50 from multiplying 5 by 10, right? So yes, 50 is a multiple of 5, so this is the correct answer. Let's just check answer D. 41. Is that a multiple of 5? Can you make that from multiplying 5 by something? No, of course not. So of course the correct answer is C. Okay, question 4. Write that fraction, which is 6 over 10, in simplest form. Let's remember the simplest form. Simplest form was about dividing, okay? When I ask you to write something in the simplest form, I ask you to divide the numerator, which is the number at the top, and the denominator, which is the number at the bottom, to divide them over some number. Okay, over what number should I divide? You will divide it over a small number. It can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4, it can be 5, it can be 6. Mostly we just use this set of numbers, okay? We don't go with bigger numbers. So you will just think, which number of these I can divide the number at the top and the number at the bottom. So you have 6 and 10, okay? The easiest number and the most common number that we use it to simplify is the number 2. Also we use the 3, also we use the 4, but 2 is the most common one. So let's try to divide the 6 and the 10 over 2. Over 2, over 2. So 6 divided by 2 equals 3 over 10 divided by 2 equals 5. Okay, now you have 3 and 5. Can you simplify them more? Can you divide them over something? Of course not. So this is the simplest form. We call it simplest form, which is 3 over 5, which is the answer that we get after we simplify, after we write the fraction in the simplest form. Now question 5 also is asking us to simplify. So I have 8 over 12. You will think, which number I can divide both of these numbers over? You can think of the 2 also. Yeah, because I can divide the 8 over 2 and also I can divide the 12 over 2. But if you're gonna think deeply, you will find also the number 4. And this is a common case. Mostly, when we can divide the fraction over 2, we can also divide it over 4, okay, in most cases. So which one I should choose? Which one I should divide over, the 2 or the 4? Always, to write the fraction in the simplest form, you should choose the bigger number. So if you are able to divide that fraction over these two numbers, the 2 and the 4, always pick the bigger number. Always go with the 4. Okay? So here I will divide numerator and denominator over 4. So 8 divided by 4, that is of course 2, over 12 divided by 4, that is equal to 3. So 2 over 3 is the simplest form, which is answer B. So B is the correct answer. Okay, question 6. Zoe spent 5 over 10 of an hour jumping rope. Write the amount of time she spent jumping rope as a function in the simplest form. Okay, so he just wants us to take that fraction, the 5 over 10, and write it in the simplest form. Now think of that fraction, the 5 over 10. What is the number that you can divide the 5 and the 10 over? This is very clear one, and it is just one number. Of course, it is 5. So you can divide them over 5. So now you have 5 divided by 5. Of course, any number divided by itself, that is equal to 1 over 10 divided by 5, that is equal to 2. So 1 over 2 is the correct answer, which is answer G. Okay, question 7. Write 1 and 3 over 5 as an improper fraction. So this is this is one of the information that we learned about how to take a mixed number like that and write it as an improper fraction. Okay, now since you have the number 1 here, this is a whole number, right? And we know that we can take any whole number and write it as a fraction. How? I know that, for example, 5 over 5, when I have up and down at the top and at the bottom, at the numerator and denominator, when I have the same number, that is equal to 1, right? That is also equals to 8 over 8, for example, to 2 over 2, to 4 over 4. Any number up and down, the same, all of these are equal to 1, okay? 1, the whole number 1. So here I have the whole number 1. I want to write it as a fraction that looks like this denominator, okay? So instead of 1, I will say that this one is equal to 5 over 5. I can say that, right? Yes, you can say that, because when you have up and down the same number, that is equal to 1. So this one is here, the 5 over 5, and you have already this fraction, the 3 over 5, so you will add it to it. So you will say 3 over 5 like that. Okay, now you have two fractions. Let's just add them. When we add fractions, we know that we should add the numbers at the numerator. So 5 plus 3, that is equal to 8, and we keep the same number, the 5 down. So that number, which is the mixed number 1 and 3 over 5, is equal to the improper fraction 5 over 8. How can I tell that this is an improper fraction? You can tell when you have the greater number at the top. So because 8 is greater than the 5 and it is at the top, so yes, we call that an improper fraction, and here's it. It is the correct answer, which is answer D. Okay, now question 8 says, write that fraction, which is, of course, can you see that this is also an improper fraction because the number up is bigger than the number down. So this question says, write it as a mixed number. Okay, so we want to do the opposite thing that we just did in question 7. So let's remember how we're used to do that. The 13 over 5, you need to cut this 13 into parts. Okay, you will say I have 13 over 4 equals 2. Okay, let's cut the 13 into parts. That is equal to 4 over 4 plus 4 over 4 plus, now you have 4 and 4 together. When you add them, you will get 8, and I have 13, so I need to add more. So also 4 over 4. Okay, now what we're doing, I'm cutting this 13 into parts of 4, because I want them to be the same as the denominator that I have. So I know that 13 is equal to 4 plus 4 plus 4. Now 4 and 4 and 4, these are equal to 12. So I still have another 1 over 4. Okay, now to check with me, add with me these numbers. Add with me 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 1. 4 and 4 and 4 and 1. All of these are equal to 13. Right? So yes, you get the 13 back. Now let's see, what do we have? I have 4 over 4 3 times, right? So all of that equals to 1, right? Yes, because when you have up and down the same number, that is equal to 1. So this is a 1. This is another 1. This is also another 1. And here you have just a fraction 1 over 4. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals to 3. And that fraction, which is 1 over 4. So the correct answer is 3 and 1 over 4, which is answer H. So H is the correct answer. I hope everything is clear and good to you. Okay, are you finished? Let's go to the next page. Now we are at page 24. Okay, question 9 says, read each question carefully, write your answers, on the line provided. Find an equivalent fraction to the shaded part. So we need to write a fraction to the shaded part and then to find an equivalent fraction. So let's start with that one. Question 9. How many shaded parts do we have? We just have one of these parts. So 1 over. How many total parts we have? We have 4 of them. Okay? So the fraction here is 1 over 4. How can we write an equivalent fraction? If you can remember, we say that we can make any equivalent fraction by multiplying that fraction up and down with any number we choose, right? We can multiply by 2, by 3, by 10, by anything you like. So I can multiply by 2, let's try 2. But don't forget you should multiply up and down. So 1 times 2 equals 2. And 4 times 2 equals 8. So 1 over 4 is the fraction and 2 over 8 is an equivalent fraction. So for the answer, write both of them. 1 over 4 is the fraction and 2 over 8 is an equivalent fraction. Now let's do the same thing with question number 10. Let's see how many shaded parts I have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 over what the total is? 7, 8. All of them are 8 parts. Okay? So 6 over 8 is the fraction that we have it here. Now let's write an equivalent fraction. I can multiply up and down by 2, for example. You can choose any number you like. 6 times 2 equals 12 and 8 times 2 equals 16. So the fraction here is 6 over 8 and an equivalent fraction to that is 12 over 16. Okay? Let's see question 11. Sarah had 12 magazines to sell. She sold 4 of them. What fraction is equivalent to the part of the magazines she sold? So we want to write a fraction, then we will write any equivalent fraction that we can make it. So she sold 4 magazines out of 12 magazines, right? To write any equivalent fraction, you can multiply or even you can divide by any number you choose. Let's try to divide this time. Okay, let's change it. I can divide, for example, by 4, right? By 4. So 4 divided by 4 equals 1. 12 divided by 4 equals 3. So 1 out of 3. This is an equivalent fraction. I can also make another one by multiplying. 4 over 12 is my fraction. I can multiply it by 2, for example. Whatever you like. 4 times 2 is 8 and 12 times 2 equals 24. Okay? So this is a correct answer. This is a correct answer. You can make any answer you want if you multiply or divide up and down by any number you choose. Okay? Okay, now we just have a few questions. For exercises 12 to 13, use the following table. So this table show to us the time spent running, the family name. The family name, we have the Smith, the Lowy, and the Harris, and the time they spend to run. So the first question says, question 12, which family ran the least amount of time? Okay, least amount of time. So we want to take a look at these 3 fractions and decide which one of these fractions is the least one. Okay, so I can say, for example, we can draw. Okay, we can draw parts to see which fraction is the least. So let's try with the first one, the Smith. 3 out of 4. You can draw, okay, please draw with me now, a circle like that. And let's cut it into 4 parts, like this. And since there is 3, so you need to color 3 of them. So this is the first part, second, and third. Okay, so the fraction that we have it here is all of the colored parts. This is the fraction that represent how much the Smith family ran. Okay, now let's do the other one. 5/8. You need also to draw a circle and to cut it into 8 parts. So let's do that. Okay, that seems nice. Okay, 8 parts. So you can start with 4 parts as a beginning. These are 4 parts, right? Now you can go to each one of these parts and cut it into a half like that. Finally, like that. I hope this, okay, this seems okay. So 5 parts, let's color 5 parts of these 8. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like that, okay? Now the last part says, or the last fraction says 1/3. So we need to draw a circle to cut it into 3 parts and to color just 1 part out of them. Let's do that. Okay. Again, no. Okay. Okay, so 3 parts are like that, I guess. Something like that. Yeah, it seems okay. So 1 part, let's color 1 part. Okay, that seems okay. All right. So now let's see. Now can you compare these parts? We can see clearly that the biggest fraction, like which represent the biggest amount of the shaded part, is that one, right? So this is the biggest. And we can also see that the least amount, or the smallest fraction is that one, right? Because it has the smallest colored part. So this fraction is the least. And that one is, of course, in the middle between of them, okay? Now let's see the questions. Do you see how drawing is very helpful? Okay. Which family ran the least amount of time? So the least amount of time means that the least fraction between these 3 fractions. And from drawing, we can see that the least fraction is clearly that one, which is 1/3. That is with the Harris family. So which family? The Harris family has the least amount of time, which represented by the least fraction. Okay. Question 13. Which family ran the most amount of time? So the most amount of time means the greatest fraction, and we can see that it is, of course, the 3/4, that one, which represent the Smith family. So the Smith family ran the most amount of time. Okay. Now question 14 says, write the factor pairs of 74. How can we make the number 74? We can make it, of course, from the most common way, which is 1 times 74. Can we make it from a different way? Actually, yes, because if we try to cut the 74 into 2 parts, okay? The 4, if you divide it like over 2, you will get 2, right? 4 divided by 2 is 2. And 70, just a 70, if you divide it by 2, you will get what? 35. So 35 and 2, that is equal to 37. So we can say that we can make the 74 by multiplying 2 by 37. These are the factor pairs for 74. The last question says, Celia used celery, carrots, and tomatoes in a recipe. Use the clues below to find the amount of each ingredient she used. The amount were 2/5, 3/4, and 5/8. there is less celery than tomatoes. Okay, so there's less, let's focus on that, less celery than tomatoes. So this means that celery is a very small amount, okay, because it is less than tomatoes. Okay, let's try to draw that. Let's try to draw tomatoes. For example, these are tomatoes. Okay, these are tomatoes. Celery, I guess, I'm not sure how can we draw that. I guess it looks like, give me a moment. I'll try to Google it. Okay, I guess we can draw it like that, the celery. Okay. So there, one more time, there is less celery than tomatoes. So for example, if I have, for example, 3 tomatoes, I could have like 2 celeries, okay, because the celeries are less than tomatoes. And also there is less tomatoes than carrots. Okay, so this means the carrots is more than the tomatoes. So there is less tomatoes than carrots. So let's draw the carrots. Here maybe we have like 4 carrots or something. Something like that. Let's make them fancier. Okay, so the biggest or the greatest amount is for the carrots, then the tomatoes, then the least amount is for the celery. Okay, the celery. Now let's order or put these fractions with each one of these vegetables. So 2 over 3 and 3 over 4 and 5 over 8. Okay, let's see. Now the greatest fraction will represent the carrots, of course, right? Because we know that we have a lot of carrots. This is like number 1. So what is the biggest fraction between these 3? The biggest fraction is, of course, clearly the 3 over 4, which we just draw it here. Here, this is a 3 over 4. Because 3 is like, we have 3 parts out of 4. So this is a lot. Comparing to these, the 3 over 4 is the greatest fraction. We can also draw them like this to find out, to like get sure, make sure. So 3 over 4, we have 3 over 4 of the carrots. Okay, so we're done with that. Now let's see, here I have 2 over 5 and 5 over 8. So one of them is, of course, the tomatoes and the other one is the celeries. We're not sure. Because we're not sure, let's try to draw these. Okay, I will start with to draw the 5 over 8, and I guess we draw it here. Okay, this is the 5 over 8. 5 over 8. Okay, I will take it here to compare it with the 2 over 5. Now we need this one is drawing. We did draw it, which is here. We need to draw the 2 over 5. Let's try to draw that. I will make it the same color so we can compare it clearly. Okay, so 2 over 5, we need to cut this circle into like 5 parts. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, right? These are 5 parts. We want to color 2 of them because we are trying to represent the 2 over 5. Let's do that. So this is 1 part and this is 2 out of 5. Now tell me, which part or which fraction you think that it represents more than the other? Which fraction is bigger than the other? Is it the 5 over 8 or the 2 over 5? We can see that from the drawing very clearly that the 5/8, that one, is bigger than the 2/5, right? Yes. And 2/5 is of course the least fraction, the smallest one. Okay, so let's now put these fractions to each one of these vegetables. We know that 3/4, which is the biggest fraction, which we had it from here. I'll just take it. Okay, it is right here. So the 3/4 is the greatest fraction between all of these three fractions. Okay, that one, sorry. Okay, that one is the biggest fraction, the 3/4. We can tell. This is why we gave it for the carrot, because we have more carrot than any other vegetable. So 3/4 is the carrot. After the carrot, in the second place, we have the tomatoes. Okay, so the tomatoes should go with that fraction, which is 5/8, which is the second greatest fraction. So here we have tomatoes. Okay, and the least fraction is for the celery, which is 2/5. So this is for the celery. Let's write that here. We have also 5/8 for the tomatoes, and we have 2/5 for the celery. So this is just like a comparing fraction problem, but we had like some fun with the drawing and with the vegetables that we have here. I hope that you draw these vegetables so you can enjoy this question just like I did. Okay, so that's it for revising chapter 8. I hope everything is clear for you. If you have any questions, please let me know. And yeah, we're done for today.